and welcome to Just One Thing for Parents. I'm Bettina Honan. Today I spoke to Shadi Shahnavaz. Shadi is a family therapist and she works with teenagers and their family, and she really focuses on helping them to connect better. And she answered this question: what's just one thing parents can do to connect more with their adolescent when he or she is distant? And this is something that she talked about seeing a lot in her practice. These parents who have tried and tried and tried to connect with their teenagers, and they really feel at the end of their tether, feel a bit like giving up, because whatever they do, whatever they say, however they try, they can't seem to get in there and connect with their teen. So she talks about ways of communicating, how important it is to build trust, some of the small things you can do. Sometimes it's like little tiny things. It's about taking nuggets where you can. She's got so many ideas because this is something she's done for so many years in her work. So please keep listening to my interview with Shadi Shahnavaz. So hello, Shadi, and welcome to the podcast. Thanks.
Hi, Bettina. I'm very happy to be here.
The question for you is, how can I connect more with my adolescent when he or she is distant? I think this is something many parents will be struggling with. And perhaps you could start by just saying something about why you chose this as something to focus on in the podcast.
Well, I work a lot with adolescents. I think it's my passion. Almost always has been since I started many years ago as a social worker. I work with adolescents and kind of delinquent adolescents. And now I work with very high-risk adolescents because I find them endearing, challenging, interesting. They're just, I'm very passionate. And what I notice is parents often struggle with their adolescents. I had two adolescent girls and it wasn't always easy. I loved it, but it wasn't always easy. And I feel for parents because I think, if only they could connect better with their adolescent child, they could see how wonderful they are. Yeah. And they could just have so much fun together. And, and the way things stand, a lot of parents come to me because they're like, I'm at the end of my tether. My adolescent is very violent. There are very violent adolescents. They get so angry and they get so violent and I don't know what to do. And I give up. And I hear that a lot from parents. Like, I give up. I'm too exhausted. I can't do this anymore. Mm. And that saddens me because I know that these parents absolutely adore their children. These are the parents that have loved their kids, given them everything they could, tried their best. But somewhere along the line, the communication kind of stopped and that connection stopped and the trust is no longer there, but both ways. So the adolescent doesn't trust the parent and the parent doesn't trust the child. And that really pains me as a family therapist. I kind of think I need to mend that. I need to build those bridges, help build the bridges again, so that they're not separate, they're one unit. I kind of think a lot of the times, why is it that adolescents connect so well with me when they come to my sessions? And what do I do differently? And basically the answer is I listen and I give them undivided attention and I don't judge. I challenge a lot.
Yeah.
I'm not one of those therapists who just sits there and says, yes, I understand. I challenge a lot. But at the same time, they like that challenge. Once you've built the trust and they know that you don't wish them any wrong, you're not judging, they like the challenge. And together with me in the session, they kind of come up with the solutions themselves. And I'd love to teach parents to do that too.
Yeah.
And the times when I've seen the parents only, and I've only worked with the parents, and I've given them tools, they kind of leave going, okay, I can do this. And they come back and they go, oh my God, there's a big change.
Yeah.
But then, upholding that and continuing that is exhausting.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think at the moment, there's so much about connection and relationships. And I think because of the neuroscience all underpins the importance of that. A lot of parents will get that message and then they reach out and they say, okay, I'm going to go and try this thing that's been recommended on Instagram or by my therapist. And the child still shuts down. And that can be, I think, extremely hard for parents. I think.
Oh, it's heartbreaking.
Very painful, can't it?
It's so heartbreaking. They feel so rejected.
Yeah.
And adolescents can be really rude.
Yeah.
and cruel, to be fair. I mean, they can be. I have adolescents who come to my sessions, and what keeps me going is that they come every week without fail.
Yeah.
And when they come, I think, well, they're getting some. And honestly, Bettina, for the whole 50 minutes, they do not open their mouths.
Wow.
They sit with their hoods on.
Wow.
And this is like the first 4 sessions, 5 sessions. They sit there and they're head down and they come, and I just kind of put words to what I think might be going on for them. And I wonder if this, and I wonder if that, and I'm looking at your body posture, and I'm thinking, oh, maybe I'm completely wrong, but I'm thinking, and you know, this makes me think of another girl that I was seeing who blah, blah, blah. It's a monologue for 50 minutes, and they listen, and then sometimes they look up, and I kind of think, oh, I got that right. You know, and sometimes they won't look up, and I'm like, oh, maybe you're thinking I'm talking rubbish now, and you know, I that's okay. I can do that, I guess, because I don't really know you because you're not giving feedback, but that's okay. And then the week after they come back, and honestly, sometimes I kind of go, oh my God, this is going to be so hard.
Yeah.
But then after the 4th session, they start mumbling things and they start talking, and then it's just wonderful.
Yeah. So that takes a lot of patience, though, doesn't it?
A lot of patience, a lot of patience,
time, and a lot of that rejection of I'm trying here. You know, you can imagine that parents going, oh my God, I'm giving you everything, and all you're doing is blanking me.
Absolutely, absolutely. But one thing I have noticed with parents in our sessions together, because of course I bring the parents in with the teenagers a lot of times when the teenagers say they're okay with that, and I say to the teacher, I'll try and convey what you're saying to the parents so they understand. And I say to the parents, I'll try and translate what you're saying so they, and honestly, I have to do a lot of translating in between. And a lot of parents talk at their adolescent. They don't have a conversation with the adolescent. It really is talking at them. I want you to do this. I want you to do that. And you haven't done this, and you haven't, and it's all criticism. And it's all kind of comparison, comparing with the other kids. And it's all very negative. You know, and why don't you listen to me? And when I've told you 50 times to do, and of course, who wants to listen to that? No one. And we don't want to listen to that. And you can just see the adolescent going like this, like, oh my God, get me out of here.
And I think it comes from a place of the parents loving and wanting to protect their child, and also thinking, I'm the one that has to teach you.
Exactly.
I have to tell you. So it comes from that place. But what you're saying is that it really is not received well by a teen.
It's not received well. And I do think that as parents, we do have to teach. We do have to guide. I don't believe in this kind of like, you know, parenting these days when they say the child has to find himself. Yes, the child has to find himself with your guidance, I believe. So I do think that parents need to be very involved. And I do think that parents need to be very boundaried. And have rules. And you know, I do think that parents are a little bit laissez-faire these days because they get the wrong messages all the time, and they misunderstand social media. And they misunderstand all these therapists who are saying, you know, who said like, you know, give your child space, and yes, give your child space, but be there constantly. They need to know you're there. But if they need space, you give them space. You know, but you always have that helicopter thing where I'm here if you need me. I'm here if you, not just leave them. I mean, you know, there are some parents who just let their 12-year-old teenager go out and about and they don't even know where they are. That's not okay. You know,
listening and attuning, and what you're describing there is that you just sometimes give a bit of a narrative. I wonder if this is happening. I wonder if that's happening, and I might have it wrong. So it's very kind of respectful.
Very respectful.
Allowing that time. What would you say if a parent said, yeah, but they're just so rude to me?
I mean, those are boundaries that we cannot accept.
You
know, and I'm very boundaried in my sessions. Very boundaried. Like teenagers know that they cannot be rude to me. They can be rude when they're talking. They can, you know, they can use, you know, rude words when they say, oh, this bloody blah, blah, blah. That's fine. But I will not allow them to be rude to me. And they know that. And I'm very bound. And I say, you know, I won't accept that. I'm not rude to you. I will not accept you being rude to me. And I do think the parents need, and this is something I say to parents, I said, you as parents, but I mean, it's very difficult when you're a single parent, I have to say. My heart goes out to single parents. But if you're lucky enough to have a partner, together with the partner, you need to agree on basic rules in the household. And I'm not saying, you know, 15 different rules. I'm saying maybe 2, 3 basic rules that you need to have, and you need to, have a conversation with your children about these rules and say, these are the rules that are important to your father and I, or to your stepfather and I, whoever, step parent, and we need to discuss this.
Yeah.
And usually adolescents like that. They don't mind it. I mean, most parents say to me, we thought they'd have a fit and they didn't. They were like, all right. And I say to them, and also you need to say, well, if you break this rule, so one of the rules is, we don't swear. We can express anger in a safe way. It's absolutely fine to be angry, but you cannot express the anger in a way that's unsafe, either to you or to others.
Yeah.
Or that hurts others or hurts you.
Yeah.
So, and then you can come up with solutions. Okay, so how do you think one can express anger without doing all of these? And you know what? Adolescents are great at this. They are absolutely fabulous. They're like, all right, and then you write those down.
Yeah.
What about this? What about that? And then you can talk about punishment. So if you break this rule, what do you think the punishment should be?
Yeah.
Again, adolescents are great at coming up with punishment. Sometimes parents say to me, they're quite harsh on themselves.
Yes,
like, we don't want to do that.
But you've got to get them in the right bit of their brain to have that conversation, haven't you?
Well done.
In the moment of emotion, do not try to have this conversation.
Do not, no. Yeah. It really is a time when things are calmer. Yeah. You've had like an hour or two of good times together, or just okay times together, and then you can have, and you need to give them warning. Yeah. You can't just show up and say, oh, we're going to have a conversation now in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
You need to give them a bit of warning, like, we'd like to have a conversation this weekend. Let us know when will be appropriate for you. And teenagers are really curious.
Yeah.
They will want to know what's going on.
Sometimes I find that a parent will approach a child and the child won't be, they will be rude in the sense that they roll their eyes. Yeah. They kind of look at them. They might say, go leave my room or something. So it's not like terrible, terrible rudeness. But what it actually does is it shuts the conversation down, and the parent then gets caught in, how dare you speak to me like that, or don't do that. And then that cycle continues, and then they can never get the conversation going.
So what I would suggest then, when they're rolling their eyes and they're like, is instead of kind of blaming and shaming, I'd say something like, oof, I can see I'm really coming at a wrong time. I'm sorry, but I just have something really important to talk about. Would it be okay if I do it now? Would you want me to come back? And you'll see that 99% of the time, the kid will kind of be, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And what I say to parents is, if you want to go into your kid's room, go up with a treat that they'll like. Oh, I just thought I'd bring you some hot chocolate.
Yeah.
They're not going to roll their eyes at that.
Yeah.
And then you kind of hover.
Yeah.
And then they kind of look at you like, why are you hovering? And you go, oh, sorry, I'm hovering. I just want, it really is that kind of, I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Rather than suddenly blaming.
Yeah. And what I hear in what you're saying, it's very respectful, actually. And teenagers are very, very attuned to how much they're being respected. This idea of status and respect, and it's to do with what's going on in their brain. It's to do with this importance of social status and their identity and their need for independence. And so they very easily feel disrespected and infantilized. And what you're describing is a way of being respectful, is saying, I'm sorry if this not a good time, or I really see that you're struggling with that. Treating them, like another human being, like you might another adult almost.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the thing that's really, curious with teenagers is they are adults on the one hand, as you say, that part of their brain, but they're also babies.
Yeah.
So they need you to kind of be there, mollycoddle them, reassure them, all of that. But they won't allow you to do that if you don't have the groundwork for it. Yeah. And I often say to parents, you need to discipline. But in order for the discipline to work, you need to have that connection. Otherwise, they're not going to listen to you.
No.
That's when the aggression comes out and the anger comes out.
Yeah, absolutely. When they feel like there's no respect at all.
Exactly. And it's those everyday. So a lot of parents come to me, they go, oh, how do I deal with, I know that he's drinking a lot. And I say, well, hang on a minute. We need to get to your interactions on a daily basis. Like on a daily basis, how do you interact with your child? Because that's what builds the groundwork for all those bigger conversations, And what's really important is for us to make sure that our teenagers feel so comfortable with us that they will come to us if they have a query.
Yeah.
The amount of times I ask these teenagers, who would you talk to if you had a worry? And they go, no one.
Mm,
Or they go on these websites for so-called children, which is so dangerous,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
filled with pedophiles, and they ask these questions. It's awful.
yeah,
And I say to parents, please, I'm asking you to do this so that they will come to you and feel safe coming to you, and then you can guide them,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
you know?
There's that amazing research that shows they measured how warm the parent-child relationship is, which they did, I
Mm.
think, in a questionnaire from both sides. And then they scanned their brains to see which part of their brain lit up when they were making a decision. And the bit of the brain that relates to mother-parent relationship lit up much more in a warmer relationship.
Of course,
So
of
you're
course,
having a much greater influence when they're not even there.
so much influence. And if you, otherwise the child will hide things from you.
Yeah.
If you react badly when they say something, and don't get me wrong, we've all reacted badly. Like we've all been like, oh my God, I can't believe you did that. But
Yeah.
you always go back and repair. So if you
That's
go
so
back and
important.
it's so important, isn't it? To
Yeah.
go back and say, you know what, I'm really sorry.
Yeah.
I just flew off the rails there because I was so worried and I love you so much.
Yeah.
And I get so scared when you say something like that to me.
Yeah.
So let's take it again and think about, how could we have done this differently?
Yeah. Yeah. I love that.
And teenagers love those discussions.
Yeah. Sometimes parents will, I think, feel like they're being a bit weak or they're going to lose their authority if they have those conversations. But they're so important, aren't they?
They gain authority.
Mm.
Honestly, you gain authority because the teenagers come to you
Yeah.
for guidance and they'll tell you things and they'll want to know your opinion.
Yeah.
And I often say to parents, I say, when they say, oh, they need to have, these values. And I say, they have your values.
Mm.
They know what your values are.
Yeah.
And that's ingrained in them. So you don't have to keep bringing it up.
Yeah.
Show it instead. If you're asking for respect, show them respect as well. You can't not show them respect, be condescending, be shaming, constantly blaming them, and then ask them to have respect for you. Because as you say, it's important to them, and involve them in the family. One small thing that I say to parents, which unfortunately doesn't happen in a lot of families, is having one meal a day together, just having dinner together.
There's so much research that shows somehow it really protects kids' mental health. And I don't know that we even understand the mechanism of how it does that.
It's that connection, as you say.
Yeah.
It's that relationship. It's the connection. It's talking at the dinner table.
Yeah.
And I think that's so important, having those important conversations. And kids do open up. Like they might open up about things that are going on in school, discussions that people are having. If you're lucky, they'll talk about things that they're seeing online because that's really important because they're not able to handle it. They cannot handle it at that age.
Absolutely.
It's too much for them to be able to handle. But if you're lucky enough for them to bring it to the table, at the dinner table, and talk about it, you can bring it up and say, oh, I just saw this online. And I'm wondering, oh my God, how do people respond to that? And if you can get them to do that, you can guide them and you can keep them safe.
Yeah.
And that's how you gain authority.
Yeah. And I always think that, we have a lot of wisdom, don't we, as parents? And we often have been there and we want to hand that over. But if your kid comes and is telling you about something, try not to jump in and be the one who always knows.
Very hard.
It's really hard. But I think that really speaks to this idea of them needing status and respect and just say, tell me about what you read, tell me about what you heard. And you have to really keep your mouth shut and not always be the one to know a little bit more because they're going to stop bringing it to you.
Exactly. And how do you understand that?
Yeah.
What do you make of that?
Yes.
What do you think would be a good thing to do there? And believe me, they know. A lot of the times they know much more than we do.
Yeah.
Adolescents are very kind of, they're very aware of what's going on more than we are, their generation. And this is a generation who have a lot of empathy. I know a lot of people say they don't have empathy. To me, they have a huge amount of empathy. You just need to bring it out by showing empathy, by putting yourselves in their shoes, mentalizing, as we say, by trying to understand what's going on for them and how you respond, how that affects them. And then you teach them to do that as well. But they do have a lot of empathy and they have a lot of tolerance and they have a lot of acceptance, much more than our generation did.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
They accept so much and they're like, oh yeah, well, that's cool.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I find that great.
Yeah. And sometimes I think if you have a child who won't talk, you can just say to them, can you tell me Am I doing something that's making this annoying or difficult for you? Because I'm trying here.
Well done.
Yeah, be really curious in that way.
Absolutely. And you know, something that really works is that kind of special time that we all know, us professionals, in the evening, you know, at night when they're in bed. And a lot of parents say to me, oh, I'm not sure if they'll even let me into their bedroom. And I said, look, they're tucked in their own bed. The lights are out. They feel safe. It's their space. It's not your space.
Mm.
It's their space. And you go in, you sit on the bed, and you just say, is there anything you need? And you start like that. And they might say, no, get out.
Yeah, yeah,
And you kind of go, all right.
yeah,
And is it, you know, and you just, without asking, you just kind of give them a quick kiss on the forehead or something, and they'll love that.
yeah,
No teenager is going to go, oh my God, I can't believe my mom kissed me. They will
yeah,
like that deep down inside because, as I say, they are also babies,
yeah,
you know? And teenagers say to me, since my mum started coming into my bedroom, my dad started coming into my bedroom in the evening, I really like it. And parents say to me, they open up. That's when they open up, you know? And that's when you have to stay with it because a lot of parents say, oh my God, it's never ending. And I'm like, no, no, no. You cannot say that.
No.
It's great that they're
Yeah,
talking, you know, because that won't happen very often. That'll happen every now and again, and you need to stick with it. Not think that, you know, it's 10 o'clock, they have to sleep. No,
yeah,
let it be. It's
yeah,
fine.
yeah. When they start, let them.
Yeah.
Amazing advice. So, Shadi, if I could ask you, just as we're finishing up, if there was just one thing that you could say to parents about how to connect more with a distant adolescent, what would it be?
Give them your undivided attention as much as you can. Be curious rather than criticizing them and wanting to change them, and give them unconditional curiosity, validation, and love.
Wow, that sounds amazing.
Because you can't spoil them with validation and love.
You can't love them too much.
You cannot love them too much.
Such a place to finish. Thank you so much for coming
Thank
on
you.
for your time today.
Thank you, Bettina.